It was Sunday, October 31st, Halloween. The comforting scent of roast pork, buttery dumplings, and sweet red cabbage still filled the kitchen long after lunch had ended. Every Sunday, Leon's mother prepared an elaborate family meal, and today had been no exception. While everyone else stood up from the table, Leon lingered in his chair, staring absent-mindedly at the empty plates. His mother stacked the dishes in the sink before turning toward him. "Would you take some food to Grandma?" she asked. "She's been sick with a bad cold and doesn't have the energy to go shopping. I'll pack her some roast, dumplings, and red cabbage. Add a few apples and a bottle of juice too." Leon nodded immediately. "Sure." His grandmother lived on the opposite side of town in an aging brick house with weathered wooden steps and a tiny garden in front. The trip required about 30 minutes on bus 36, something Leon had done many times before. Not long afterward, his parents left for a birthday celebration in the suburbs, promising they wouldn't return until late that evening. Once the front door closed behind them, silence settled over the house. Only the steady ticking of the hallway clock broke the stillness. Leon retreated to his bedroom, where his eyes drifted toward the wardrobe. Hidden inside a protective garment bag hung a costume his grandmother had bought months earlier for carnival festivities, a playful Little Red Riding Hood outfit complete with a short traditional-style dress, a bright red apron, a hooded cape, white thigh-high stockings, and a pair of striking platform heels. He slowly unzipped the bag. His fingertips brushed across the soft fabric, and an unmistakable thrill ran through him. During carnival, wearing the costume had felt harmless because everyone wore disguises. Today was different. Today there would be no masks to hide behind. He glanced out the window. Children would soon be filling the streets in Halloween costumes. If there's ever a day, he whispered to himself, it's today. One piece at a time, he dressed. The dress fit snugly. The cape settled across his shoulders. The stockings caught the afternoon light, and after carefully slipping into the high heels, he took several cautious steps until he found his balance. Standing before the mirror, Leon barely recognized himself. A blonde wig framed his face. Light makeup softened his features. The swirling skirt, red hood, and confident pose transformed the reflection into someone who looked adventurous, theatrical, and unexpectedly self-assured. He gave a small spin, watching the skirt flow around him, and couldn't suppress a quiet laugh. Finally, he filled a wicker basket with containers of roast pork, dumplings, red cabbage, several apples, and a bottle of fruit juice. One last glance in the mirror. Little Red Riding Hood smiled back. Taking a deep breath, Leon locked the front door and headed toward the bus stop. As Leon stepped into the apartment building's hallway, the hem of his red cape fluttered behind him. Just as he reached the stairs, Mrs. Meyer from the ground floor opened her apartment door carrying a reusable shopping bag. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Meyer," Leon said politely. She answered automatically before pausing, clearly surprised. Her eyes moved from the bright red hood to Leon's carefully applied makeup, then to the white stockings and high heels. For a brief moment, she seemed unsure whether she had recognized the person standing before her. Leon offered a nervous smile and continued downstairs before she could say anything else. Walking in platform heels proved far more difficult than he had imagined. Every uneven paving stone demanded his full attention. He shortened his stride, carefully balancing the basket while trying not to stumble. Eventually, he reached the bus stop and sat on the bench with a relieved sigh. While checking his phone, he heard a voice beside him. "Heading to a Halloween party?" Leon looked up. A teenager a few years older than him stood nearby wearing a black hoodie, sweatpants, and a crossbody bag. He smiled casually, studying Leon's costume with obvious curiosity. "No," Leon answered. "I'm bringing food to my grandmother. She's sick." The stranger chuckled. "I could come with you." Leon shifted uneasily. "Thanks, but I'll be fine." Trying to end the conversation, he added, "It's just bus 36 to the last stop." A whistle suddenly echoed across the street. Two young men leaned against a dark-colored car parked nearby. "Hurry up." The teenager laughed. "My friends are waiting." He waved over his shoulder before jogging toward the vehicle. Moments later, the car disappeared down the road. Leon released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. When the bus finally arrived, he climbed aboard with obvious relief, scanned his monthly pass, and chose a seat near the front. The basket rested beside him. It didn't take long before he noticed people looking his way. Some smiled. Others frowned. A few whispered to each other. Whether they assumed it was simply a Halloween costume or something else entirely, Leon suddenly felt impossible to ignore. The bus rolled through the city, stopping every few minutes to collect more passengers. Leon caught his reflection in the window. His hood had slipped back, revealing the blonde wig beneath. The person staring back no longer looked like the boy who had left home only half an hour earlier. Instead, he saw the fairy-tale character he had chosen to become for the afternoon. Passengers continued to glance his way. A woman pushing a stroller looked briefly puzzled before returning her attention to her child. Two office workers exchanged amused smiles. A teenager discreetly raised a phone, appearing tempted to take a picture. Leon stared out the window, pretending not to notice. Each stop brought fresh faces and another round of curious looks. He reminded himself that the journey wasn't much longer. Soon the bus reached the central station. Bright advertising signs illuminated the platforms while loudspeaker announcements echoed through the terminal. Leon stepped off, gripping the basket firmly. The sharp click of his heels on the pavement seemed louder than the surrounding crowd. Groups of teenagers, commuters returning from work, and travelers waiting for connections filled the station. One teenager called out with a laugh. "Hey, Little Red Riding Hood." Several friends laughed with him. Another jokingly imitated a wolf's howl. Leon kept walking without responding. He tightened his grip on the basket and focused on putting one careful step in front of the other, determined to reach his next bus without letting the comments slow him down. Leon tightened his grip on the wicker basket, his palms damp with sweat. He forced himself to keep moving, staring only at the electronic timetable ahead instead of the people around him. He drew a slow, calming breath. Just a little farther, he told himself. Just get to Grandma's house. When the second bus finally arrived, it was noticeably quieter than the crowded station. Only a handful of passengers occupied the seats, each lost in their own thoughts. No one paid him more than a passing glance. After enduring the whispers, stares, and mocking smiles at the station, the silence felt almost comforting. Leon settled into a seat near the window and exhaled. For the first time since leaving home, he allowed the red cape to drape naturally across his lap instead of pulling it tightly around himself. Outside, the scenery slowly transformed. Apartment buildings gave way to detached houses with tidy gardens. Children's playgrounds, trimmed hedges, and pumpkins decorating front porches rolled past the window. Gradually, the suburbs blended into the countryside. The rain had stopped, leaving the roads shining beneath the fading evening sunlight. Clouds glowed orange as the sun slipped toward the horizon. At the final stop, Leon stepped off the bus. A cool breeze caught the edge of his hood and pushed it back. As he walked toward the curb, the heel of one shoe slipped into a drainage grate. His heart skipped. He quickly pulled his foot free, feeling a sharp tug above his ankle. A small scrape burned against his skin. "Great," he muttered quietly. After adjusting his shoe, he continued along the road. Soon the sidewalks disappeared, replaced by a narrow strip of worn asphalt. Rainwater still filled shallow puddles on either side, reflecting the evening sky. A few cyclists passed by, giving him curious but harmless glances before disappearing into the distance. Then he saw it. The old brick house stood exactly as he remembered. Years ago it had served as a signalman's house beside a small railway branch that no longer existed. The abandoned tracks had since become a cycling trail, but the house remained. The garden had grown wild, vines climbed the walls, and the windows looked older than ever. Yet to Leon, it was still a place filled with warmth and childhood memories. A smile spread across his face. He imagined Grandma opening the door, delighted by the homemade roast, fresh fruit, and juice he had brought. His pace quickened. Then he stopped. A black car stood directly in front of the house. Its dark windows reflected the fading light. The engine was silent, but the polished body gleamed ominously. Leon frowned. Something didn't feel right.